Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my current PC, and prior to this I still had a Pentium 4. I bought this in 2020 from Micro Center here in Cambridge, Mass. And at the time COVID was just hitting, and I did not have experience building any of the newer computers or familiarity with any of the newer hardware, and I just decided to purchase one. And this one was called iBuyPower, and I thought it was like a store brand, but evidently it's a separate company, and they sell their computers. But recently it started, the video card or graphics card started crashing whenever I did any gaming. I really just recently started gaming, maybe within the for about a year now, and I was playing World of Tanks, and then just recently War Thunder and Fortnite and Minecraft. But War Thunder was the first time it crashed, and now I can't even start Fortnite. So I tried to scour the internet, read up on forums, and it's an issue that boards have had. When it crashes, the screen goes black and the fans throttle up to full speed. So I've tried everything from information from the internet. Upgraded my BIOS at least on my motherboard. It's an MSI motherboard, Z490A Pro. I think I've got 32 gigabytes of memory. I don't know what the manufacturer is, the brand of memory, but evidently the Gigabyte video card that I purchased in July of 2020 was already a year old. So when I went to the Gigabyte website, it said that the 3-year warranty had expired. So Microsoft said I needed to call iBuyPower, and iBuyPower said I needed to contact Micro Center. So I went ahead and finally contacted Gigabyte. iBuyPower did say that it should be from the date of purchase, and so that's what got me to call up Gigabyte and get in touch with someone personally, and they said, yeah, it's still under warranty, and I got approved for an an RMA. So I like to. And then it gets even worse because the power requirements are greater for the card. I just couldn't resist. I went for the 4070 Ti RTX, is it? 4070 Ti NVIDIA. I went with the Zotac, I think that's how you pronounce it. Just did not feel comfortable getting another Gigabyte card. So an upgraded power supply is not going to fit in this case, so I had to get a new case. Lee, I think, is the brand of case. I've purchased them in the past. But so now let me show you, after that long-winded intro. Let's see if I can repeat this. First experience using benchmark software. I've seen people do it in YouTube videos, computer related. So this says game, and I already was able to get this to fail. Let's see if it will happen again. So it is loading. I'm not certain if this is called supposition or superposition software. Now, the fans really aren't taking off. Oh, right on cue. So that is what happens. So the only thing that I can do is just do, I don't know what they call this, a hard reset. I was almost concerned I couldn't turn it off the other day when it got this to fail like that. But yeah, that's the thing. So I upgraded my BIOS, I reseated the graphics card, I removed all drivers with DDU software, display driver uninstall, and just tried installing the latest driver or even an older driver first, and no success. So the only thing I haven't done is I don't have the ability to try different memory, and I'm actually hoping it is the card, because if it isn't, I guess I could, well, I'm only going to find that out by opening up the box of my new card. But I guess that would give me an excuse to build another PC. So I'm not familiar with the memory here. It says X. Is that PG? That seems to be the memory that I have. And like I said, the computers worked fine. It did not crash if I'm doing video editing. So evidently that's not as demanding as gaming. And like I said, I've had it for a couple of years. And I'd like to get this card in the mail as soon as possible and heading to California. And hopefully they can repeat the failure mode. And I don't know, I think I might have heard the guy mention on the phone a possible reimbursement, or I'm not certain what they would do if the card is unrepairable. So that's the plan, is to get the new case out of the box. And I need to take, I would like to be able to take the motherboard out without disconnecting the liquid cooling heatsink. I don't know what they would call that. And the radiator. And get that into the new case. So let me get started. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Ever watch one of these nice edited slick videos on computer builds? Well, mine isn't going according to those videos. I recently had a graphics problem with a computer that I had purchased pre-built, and the 2080, it's a Gigabyte 2080 Super graphics card failed. But anyways, what I decided to do is get a new graphics card, and then I found out I needed a new power supply, and I ended up getting a new case, although I think I might have been able to cram the new power supply into the old case. But what happened is I installed, so I had to transfer my components, which consisted of course, the motherboard, and came with a radiator, a liquid-cooled setup, a sealed unit, of course, and the new graphics card and the motherboard, like I said, had to be transferred over. But I go to hook up the power supply, make all the connections to the motherboard, and when I open up the graphics card box, I ended up going with a Zotac because burned me once with the Gigabyte, and also while I was at the computer store, some of the salespeople mentioned an incident where they had a Gigabyte card catch on fire. So I decided to go with a different manufacturer. But in the box, this came with it. It's a 3-way splitter, and it has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pin connector on the graphics card side. So you need 3 of these CPU type 8-pin power connectors. Well, one cable in the box goes, of course, to the CPU power over here on the motherboard, up at the top left there. So that leaves you with 2, which are short one. So if you go online, there's a lot of confusion concerning whether you can just use 2. I actually saw an unboxing where there was a 2-way splitter in the box. But it was explained to me that you can go without all 3, but in the long run, it's detrimental to the card, I believe. So I get this Lian Li case. Looks fancy. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. It's a generational thing of this RGB. I'm not looking at the computer. I don't want to display light display in the room. And I ended up going with this. It had glass doors on it, but it had this plate here. It has all these shrouds for covering up cable management and all that. Well, I'm pretty sure that this shroud that was on here was interfering with me seating my graphics card. So I went trying to get an extra cable. They don't carry it. Corsair has them on their website, but I go to the computer store to get a cable, which I thought they had from their website. I was looking at these kits that they were selling. I said, well, maybe these are male-to-male power cables, 8-pin. They did not have it, and just at the last minute, well, my thinking was that I was going to buy a power supply and take out one of the cables and return it. But as a short term, cannibalize it or something. But at the last minute, the salesman says, well, these power supplies have the new cable. I thought the Zotac was, just their solution to their card. No, this one here is a new standard. So 12 pins would go directly into the new power supply, and you'd have just one. So instead of now 3 cables going through your case, you would just have the one supplying all the needed power to your graphics card. Why wasn't I sold that to start with? So here I have a Corsair that I just removed all the cables from. And here is the new Thermaltake. So you watch these nice slick edited videos, but they don't take into account multiple trips to the computer store, if you have a computer store you can physically go to and walk into. Now this says PCI E extended, it's a generation 5, but this says 16 pin connector, so that made me concerned. But take a look at this thing. You open this up, and they definitely have a little bit of an edge, packaging-wise, over the Corsair. So here is the supply in a nice protective material, but it comes with a, not a tool bag, but a bag, Velcroed, that has all your cables in it. So like I said, I was concerned again because I saw the 16 and it's a 12. So I was trying to look at this without opening the package. There is a 12-pin connector. So the power supplies. So if you're getting the latest graphics card, you're going to get hiccups like this with cables not matching or being short a cable. So let's see what we have here. So it's the same profile as the Corsair. And yeah, here it is right here. They're calling it 24-pin. I don't know why this is going to CPU, PCIe, CPU, peripheral, 12 volt. Oh, this is it here. It's not these. Yeah, so this one here is called 12 volt HPWR. So that is a new type of connector. I'm assuming dedicated just to graphics cards, which like I said, so I told the guy, I said, you're telling me you sold me a power supply unit that has already been obsoleted by a new standard. So yeah, if anything, I mean, this video is just to show you issues that you come across. It's like if you try to do your own plumbing and you realize that when a plumber shows up, they've got some experience and they usually have all the parts on hand, where unless you're building PCs for a living and you're doing this all the time, you're probably up on top of all this. But you know, like I said, my experience is that the salesmen, people in computers, are having trouble keeping up with all this. I mentioned, you know, here it is 2023, and I still have to take these fingers and take those individual pins or connectors and put them on the header pins for power reset, plus and minus LED. Really? We can't come up with a standard for a nice one plug that just plugs into no matter what case you have? But yeah, computer industry is really something else. So hopefully I was at the point where my motherboard powered up and I was able to boot up to the desktop from the HDMI, onboard HDMI video on this MSI Z. Oh, what do they call it? A MSI Z490A Pro, maybe? So, yeah. And I'm going to have to make another trip to return that power supply of everything. Hopefully I'll get this up and running. But yeah, I wouldn't go for this case again. I just like simple case, all metal. I don't need to showcase RGB LEDs or RGB lights flashing all over the place. And yeah, it becomes exhausting doing this. So I became familiar with the really poorly printed manual on the case, showing you in hieroglyphics, or however you pronounce that, Egyptian script, what all these cables are for. And Yeah, I became more familiar with liquid cooling. I think in the old days, or when I first started hearing about this, people were cutting tubes up themselves, and it's all sealed units now for the most part. On the graphics card too, man, this thing is a beast. It is so big. Luckily, this one came with this support. Zotac has this support, and it's magnetized, which I'm not sure if that's good for electronics, but it sits in place, attaches to whatever metal you've got here, and then it has a little sliding ledge here that you can butt up against. This is smooth or tapered, so it's really not something you can put on the edge here. I know some people have set this up, and you have to be careful to make sure that you're not interfering with the fan blades. So I found a nice flat spot here that's maybe 3/4 of the way from the back of the case. And yeah, I'm anxious to get this up and running. I just also discovered there was this weird connector. Where's the cable, if I can find it? To the fan. The only thing I had when I booted up the computer is I had a CPU fan error. Let me show you if I can find the cable. Yeah, so this is the cable that was attached to the fan, the CPU cooling fan, and I didn't realize, I thought it was hardwired, and then this was the connector, and I was informed this is the RGB connector. I said, well, I'm pretty sure that the fan has RGB lighting. If I can recall, it was lighting up. But I said, are you telling me there's supposed to be two cables? Because there's only one. So the cable came out of the side here, and I thought it was hardwired, but upon investigation, it actually pulled out. But yeah, this is not fit the header pins connection for the CPU header pin on the board. So I guess I didn't pay close enough attention when I took this apart, and they did some type of custom wiring for that, because there's no combination of existing cabling that I have from the old computer that allows me to plug in to that CPU fan header connector. So I was getting a CPU error. It said, I don't know, I think the software told me to check on that, but it did boot to one of many alternate desktop scenes. It was green. I forget what it was. But yeah, that's trials and tribulations of actually building a PC. So real quick, here's another example. Here's the Corsair cable. It has the mesh jacket around it. This goes into the power supply, and it's one complete cable that goes. It's a 24-pin edge connector, or not an edge connector, to the connector on the PC, on the motherboard. But this one here is flat cables, a lot of them, and some assembly required. I guess these last four clip on. Are there motherboards where there's four that are just separate from the grouping of 20? I don't know, but anyways, that looks like it just clips in. Again, is everyone just winging this and just making up stuff as they go along? and someone's hoping that they become the industry standard or something. But yeah, like I said, if you don't do this every day of your life, you're like, what is going on here? So yeah, just another gripe there on differences. So I'm not familiar with this, so I'm just figuring out that I guess I snapped that together. And I kind of like this braided covering on these cables as opposed to these flat cables. Other people with more experience might have reason to say that these are better for, I don't know, for cable management or something. But look at what you got here. You've got this as opposed to this. So, yeah. Okay, let me get to building this. Okay, I just had to pick up the camera again. Here's another one. So 24-pin ATX, here's the cable, right? So there's the locking mechanism, which shows you how to orient this. Click it in. If I can click it in there. There it is. Now, look at the cable. The cable is built so that this connector naturally wants to be on this side. Yeah, but it needs to be over there. So they just went ahead and assembled this. So now you have to go and contort this. That is just, it's not supposed to go there. It's supposed to go there. I mean, you can do it, but of course when you go, if you just go like that, it's going to, I mean, that would be oriented wrong. So what feels like it's the less strain? The way they've woven these cables here together, actually it doesn't seem, okay, let me figure out what is the path of least resistance here. What if I feed this through those two? No, that's not going to help. Yeah, so this has to go over here. So what the heck? I mean, when they design these things, do they ever say, hey, hook that up, let's build a computer with our power supply? Wow. No, because then that one will... What a mess this is going to be. All right, let me see what I can figure out. So, that's what it looks like. These get pulled over to this side, and that's just at the power supply. So, yeah, I would have liked this to be the braided covering on it. But, yeah, I don't know. It seems like there could be a better way to design this pinout. Okay, continuing with the theme of no standards. I've read online different philosophies on whether you have the fan pointing up or down on the power supply. One idea that was a Jay-Z's 2 cents or something made sense that, you know, if you have a leak in your cooling, maybe buy you some time if it just drips on the cover as opposed to being able to go right inside of the electronics in your power supply. Well, this one here, if you orient it this way, it's got everything upside down. Oh no, they did the same thing. So there's a thing they do there where they alternate the label. But this here, with the fan down, the switch on is down. So on is down, and then here, with the housing or the fan down, it's opposite. Down is off, and that is on. So I think the competitors just say whatever the other guy's doing, let's do the opposite. All right, so here's the case on the floor. I'm not going to pick it up for this video, but I've been operating this new graphics card, the Zotac, for over a week now, and that was my problem. And yesterday UPS tracking showed that my Gigabyte 2080 has arrived in California at Gigabyte for repair. And so yeah, this this comes down like this, got the glass sides. I haven't even taken off that plastic off the glass, but there's the Zotac card. And what I ended up discovering, remember I don't do this on a regular basis. I thought that cold plate, I think is what they call it, had a fan in it also. So when I disconnected my motherboard and transferred it over to this case, I was a little confused as to why I was short a connection going to the CPU header pins on the motherboard. And it just ended up that those pins were connected to a fan that was on the case, probably, whether it was the back one or something on the top. But I because of the memory and the cabling for the cooler, the radiator, I didn't want to change the orientation to have it like it's recommended, I guess, to put it up on the top of the case. But the one that I had was in the front, so I didn't want to have to. I don't know if I was going to have to move, disconnect that heat sink or cold plate they call it, and reorient the cabling, so it was less stress to move the radiator. But I just took the path of least resistance and put the radiator in the front. So yeah, that's what I have. It's working fine, and it is quiet. I'm kind of wondering if the 2080 always had a problem with heat, because it was a loud card with the fans always going on when I would do any gaming. This is what it sounds like when I'm gaming. The fans, they don't really kick into high speed, or don't need to. So let me show you real quick. I'm just doing some video editing for this video, and just going to end with some more footage here of needed to document the ending here that the computer's up and running. So let me show you that software that stresses the graphics card and show you that it works. So another thing I don't recall, I was just looking at the video too. Another thing is I'm opting for, all of a sudden I got this message about Microsoft pushing Windows 11, so I said, I'll go for it. So I already saw some criticism about it. Evidently, they're getting a lot of information from you, probably to sell to third parties. But here's the game. Let's see, run. And You'll notice right here is where the old card immediately died, and even if it didn't die, I'm sure it would have revved up its fans at this point, but this, I'm not noticing any difference with the fans. And I didn't know that this was actually a game where, or not a game, but it had all these pretty much game simulation type of thing where you go around here and walk around and pull levers and stuff. And so yeah, it's working fine. This graphics card is handling it and doesn't seem to have a problem with heat issues. Sort of told myself I wasn't going to reinstall War Thunder, but I did, and I've been playing it again. And very irritating game to play, but I'm playing it. So let me end the video. It's a long video about you know, things that happen when you're having to do these type of rebuilds or trying to solve a problem with the computer. It's a good thing I had a micro center close by and not something I had to solve just through the mail. Then I ended up with my cables. I had ordered cables. Before I found out there was an alternate power supply solution. 3 cables I ordered from Corsair arrived that I don't need because I returned that power supply. So, hope you found this video interesting. Things to watch out for when upgrading your computer with any of these new graphics cards. Make sure you've got the latest in standards for those for the power supply connectors. New standards out for cabling. PCI Express, what was it, generation 5, I think. So thanks for watching.